Thursday Night Football. Giants at the Niners. Niners favored by 10. The total is 45. Who do you like in the captain spot?
I'm going to have to go with Brandon Ayuk for this one, just because, it's Christian McCaffrey, Debo, and Kittle typically get a boost whenever the Niners play a defense that uses zone at a high rate. And Ayuk is the Niner who gets a boost whenever they play a man-heavy defense, which is what the Giants are. But Ayuk was in and out of the lineup last week with what seemed like a shoulder injury. So there's a chance they hold him out here. I'm guessing if he plays, it means he's closer to 100%. Why risk it on the short week, especially when you probably don't need him to beat the Giants. But if he's suiting up, I think he's the play to go in the captain slot here.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go too crazy. I'm just gonna go with Christian McCaffrey. This dude is just unbelievable. I mean, he looks amazing. He's barely coming off the field. They're not even really mixing in that much Mitchell. Maybe they do on a shorter week, but this Giants defense, fresh off giving up 106 yards to James Conner last week, I really like it. You don't expect it quite as much in the pass game because, as you mentioned, the Giants playing man coverage. Maybe CMC has to stay in the block, but if he does go out in routes, I mean, he's still gonna toast any of these Giant linebackers. So it could just be a big McCaffrey day. I don't know how much they're gonna have to throw the ball in this one. The Giants without Saquon Barkley, especially. Yeah. So CMC for me. What about for value plays?
For the Giants, it's Darren Waller and a bunch of dart throws. So I'm gonna consider Jalen Hyatt a value play here. His routes run rate is still in the 30% range, but have to wonder if we start seeing more playing time after he went off for 2 catches and 89 yards, especially in what should be a trailing game script. Like you mentioned, they won't have Saquon Barkley. So we could see the Giants take a couple more deep shots specifically to Hyatt in this game. So Hyatt's the kind of guy that's like perfect for a showdown slate. So I like him there. Same thing with the Niners. Like it's just a bunch of studs and dart throws. So I'll save my Niner for my dart throws.
Yeah, and I mean, you could, there's a lot of mid-range guys, just kind of who we like here. I do agree. I think Hyatt, is kind of coming on, and they're going to have to get him more involved, especially if Barkley's out, just because they need as much explosiveness on the field as possible. But for this one, again, not getting too fancy, Darren Waller is pretty decent priced in that mid-range. Mm-hmm. I expect a big workload for Waller because the Giants are 10-point underdogs on the road, short week, probably no Barkley. So I just expect this Giant offense, when they pass, it's still going to be Darren Waller getting open more than anyone else on this team. So going Waller. And on the other side, I think Kittle is worth a dart throw, or not a dart throw. I think Kittle is worth a value play here. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, all these Niner starters are kind of locked in here. It's not a ton of value, but I think Kittle is a guy who somewhat of a slow start to this year. But the Giants defense, they've been giving up quite a few targets to tight ends. Now in week 1, Ferguson had a bunch of drops, so the production wasn't there, but 8 targets to tight ends against Dallas, and then 11 targets to tight ends in the Arizona game in week 2. So that's 19 total. That is a lot of targets for tight ends. So I think this could be a game where Kittle finally does some damage. He was the guy that was getting all the touchdowns with Purdy last year. I think he had 11. And this year hasn't found the end zone yet, hasn't caught more than 3 balls in a game yet. So I think you could see him get a little more involved in this one, especially if Ayuk is banged up. Then I think you see him step up. But yeah, those are like both of the tight ends, both top 5 guys for me and pretty reasonably priced. All right, what about dart throws?
So it's ugly for the Giants. I'm going to go with Gary Brightwell though, because with Saquon Barkley expected to miss, I think it's going to be Matt Breida getting the start and probably lead a 2-3-way committee. I think everybody's going to be on Matt Breida. I think his rostership is going to be pretty high here. So I think Brightwell could be some nice leverage because he could command more of a 50-50 split here. And there's so much uncertainty. It could be Brightwell ends up leading the backfield. We don't really know. So I think Brightwell would be the good leverage play here. Whatever his rostership is, it's probably going to be too low. I know it's an ugly play, but this is kind of an ugly slate. And we could see rookie Eric Gray get some run here as well. And then I'm going to go on the other side. I'm going to go with the other backup running back, Elijah Mitchell. Like you mentioned, the Niners have just been giving Christian McCaffrey like every snap. He played every snap last week against the Rams, meaning Mitchell didn't even see the field at all. Have to imagine they want to start limiting his workload at some point, especially on a short week. There's definitely, blowout potential here. So this could be a scenario where Mitchell sees a lot more work in the second half. And as you mentioned, the Giants are a great matchup against running backs. They did allow that 100-plus yard game and a touchdown to James Conner. So if Mitchell does see the field in this game, I think, it's a great spot for him. So that's just playing into the blowout here.
Yeah, I do think this is a good spot for Mitchell. Even the third, who is Jordan Mason. If the Niners are ahead handily, I think this would be a time to kind of get McCaffrey out of there and let him get a breather. For me, going with Paris Campbell on the Giant side, he's kind of priced closer to the dart throws. I think it's 4,400, so it's not super cheap, but he's been the guy getting every down, not every down, but almost every down kind of usage. He's averaging 75% of the routes per dropback through 2 games, and he's priced below Hodgins and Slayton and those guys. So he's kind of in that dead zone where I think he's just the cheapest Giant receiver in the best value in terms of his playing time. And then on the Niner side, kind of going with maybe Ayuk's a little bit banged up, maybe the game gets out of hand. Ronnie Bell, the rookie, I like him as a dart throw. He's been playing a few snaps in terms of the wide receiver, I should say. 12% of the dropbacks in week 1, up to 25% last week. And he had a really good preseason. He caught 10 of 15 targets for 172 yards. So he averaged 17.2 a catch in the preseason, 7th round pick out of Michigan. And I think, he could get a downfield target or 2 here and there. But especially if Ayuk is banged up, he might mix in even a little bit more into the normal game plan. So I like him at min price.
Yeah, no, I love the Bell call. If Ayuk's ruled out, he's probably going to replace him like 1-to-1, because whenever Ayuk checked out against the Rams, it was Bell that came in. I think they were trying to preserve Ayuk on running play, so Bell would come in and run block. But I mean, he's probably going to run like over maybe 60-70% of the routes if Ayuk is out. So yeah, I love that call. And yeah, he looked amazing in preseason, so he could step up here.